I've had a lot of people ask me if they should take the SAT or the ACT. Is the SAT better than the ACT? How about for applying to college? In today's video, I'll be breaking down the differences between the SAT and the ACT, the type of person each one is for, and my own personal opinion.
Perfect!
Now, the big key difference between the SAT and the ACT is the material both tests cover. The SAT covers two sections, reading and writing and math. For the digital version, the test lasts 134 minutes and has 98 questions. For the ACT, it covers English, math, reading, and science, amounting to 215 questions in total of 2 hours and 55 minutes. Now, that's a lot of questions. However, even though the ACT has more questions, the time spent per question is less compared to the SAT. Personally, for me, when I was going through the practice tests for each of them, the ACT was very long. I mean, yes, 215 questions is a lot of questions, but personally, it is way too much for me. The thing about both of these exams is that they're a mental battle. Yes, you need to know your stuff, but moreover, you need to get through the exam with the same confidence you started with. It's natural to start the exam with loads of energy, but by the time you've gone through 50, 60, 70 questions, you begin to feel exhausted. The same is with AP exams, especially the English ones. You do 50 or 60 MCQs, then you have to write 3 whole essays afterwards. Personally, I couldn't imagine going through 215 questions. It just sounds like a total pain. Now, this video isn't all anti-ACT. Like, the ACT has some pretty good things and can be considered better than the SAT. But God, look at these reading passages. They're so long, like way too long. I would literally fall asleep during this exam. Now, some argue that the questions are easy to skim over or easier to complete compared to the SAT questions. If I were you, I'd take 1 or 2 practice exams for each of them, then compare your score and see which one you scored better on. One thing about the ACT that makes it better than the SAT is scoring. If you are a good test taker and you can answer questions even while being under pressure, you have a great chance at doing better on the SAT than the ACT. Why? Because the amount of questions on the ACT is somewhat of a blessing in disguise. Although it may seem gaudy, it is easier to do better on the SAT, even if you do bad on one section, as the composite score factors in more sections than the SAT does. The SAT only has 2 sections compared to 5 sections on the ACT, so technically you could get more wrong on one section of the ACT and do really well on the other sections and still score high. I do also believe that you need to know more stuff overall for the ACT, when for the SAT you can just go in and take it. Now, some may disagree with this, but the ACT covers a wide range of topics, while the SAT is pretty set on what it covers. Obviously, you should study for both, but I do think the ACT warrants more studying and preparation overall, especially for the math and science sections. I think you can also take the ACT on paper still, but I'm not 100% sure. I always prefer paper tests over digital tests, especially math and reading passages. When reading a long passage, you can zone out pretty quickly when you're looking at a screen versus when you're looking at a real paper, but that's just my opinion. I think the ACT is definitely for those who are good at STEM. Some argue that the ACT math section is way easier than the SAT section, and some argue the opposite. I think it's up to interpretation by the test taker, so I highly recommend you take practice tests and get a feel for them. Even though the SAT has more math than the ACT goes a bit more in depth when it comes to math, trigonometry, geometry. A lot of the subjects that may be 1 or 2 questions on the SAT may appear more frequently on the ACT. The science section is just hit or miss. Either you're good at it or you're not. Personally, I didn't take the SAT. I've never really had much interest in taking it either. Just for me, it's just way too much to sit through 200 plus questions. You can find so many people online, specifically in Reddit, comparing each of the exams. There are so many differences, like the time, the number of questions, the amount of questions per section, the science section, the differences in the reading and writing passages, and so forth. All in all, I would recommend that you take practice exams for each and see which one you're truly best at. I cannot tell you which one you're best at. Everyone differs in their test-taking strategies, how they take exams, how they study, and so forth. So please, if I were you, don't just read what people say online and go off of that. You need to actually put the practice and actually take both and really see which one you do better at. I took the SAT, and personally, I would recommend it if you're not a good test taker or you're unable to sit through 250 questions. But like I said, you need to take practice exams for each to really see which one you have a better feel for. If you are practicing for the exams and you have questions or questions about this video, join my Discord server, which is linked in the description below and in the comments. My Discord server has over 700 members and active helpers who will assist you with help on the math and science sections. We have college helpers, high school helpers, even middle school helpers, all of which may or may have not taken the SAT or the ACT and can give you tips on both. If you have a question, just post it in the channel and get help from one of our members free of charge. If you're interested, check the description down below for the link. But what do you think? Which one is better? Leave your thoughts and experiences in the comments down below, and as always, I'll see you all in the next video.